Welcome to leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters, and for the first time to Belgium and the stunning D'Arville Castle. Set within the walls of a 400-year-old family estate of Guillaume de Liedekerke, it's no wonder 9 of the world's top 20 riders are here. This is eventing reinvented. This is the Event Rider Masters.
Welcome back to D'Arville. What a setting for leg 3 of the 2018 Event Rider Masters series, and it's a huge lineup as well that includes 5 former leg winners, both previous series champions, and 11 different nations in total. It's a wide open competition, and we won't know the winner until the last horse crosses the cross-country finish line this afternoon. The castle here provides an incredible backdrop. The scenery really is absolutely stunning, and the crowds have been piling in early this morning in a bid to get the best viewing for the show jumping, which will take place in this incredible international arena here. We cannot wait to get underway. We will be bringing you all of the action live and free, eventridermasters.tv. So settle in, sit back, relax, and enjoy all of the action, because I promise you it is going to be quite the conclusion to leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters. Joining me in the studio, Derm Byrne from Echo Ratings. Derm, delighted to have you with us. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Big day ahead, Nicole.
Well, we can't wait to get started. But before we do get started, let's just remind ourselves of everything that happened in the first and second leg in Wiesbaden a few weeks ago.
The world's best barely had time to rest before taking to the main arena for the show jump. Third place after dressage, Tim Lips jumped clear and fast on Bailey to keep the pressure on the top 2 combination. Oliver Tannen entered the arena as the penultimate rider, Kildebrand and Eva. The combination never failed to jump clear at this level. This time, it was no different. The pressure then was on the leaders, Ingrid Klimke and SAP Hale. But the duo kept long enough to hold on to the top spot going into cross-country. Day 2 and the cross-country awaited the world's best horses and riders. The fastest round of the day went to Swedish Olympian Ludwig Svenningsson and El Kazir S. Jumping clear in 5 minutes 45 to become the only combination to finish on their dressage score, 37.5. 2016 Masters Series winner Tannen, riding Kildebrand and Eva, completed the course in 5 minutes 56. 6 seconds over the optimum, finishing on a score of 25.2. Attention then turned to Ingrid Klimke with SAP Hale. In a nail-biting finale, the current European champion clinched leg 2 title with a time of 5 minutes 54 seconds to finish on 23.8 to become the Queen of Wiesbaden and winner of leg 2 of the Event Rider Masters.
Ingrid Klimke, SAP Hale OLD, 4 seconds over the time, 23.8. They take the title here. The home crowd love it, we love it. And what a round from the Queen of Wiesbaden.
Well, 2 legs of the 6 in the 2018 series have taken place. Tim Price, 2 counting scores already on the board for him. He'll be looking to add to that this weekend, 36 points on the board. Other key people to watch, Oliver Townend, he's well placed here so far this weekend, as is Laura Collick. Chris Burton can also make a rise up towards the top of that series leaderboard. So it is all to play for here in leg 3, but it's not just us here in the studio as we get a little bit closer to the start of the show jumping action. Let's go and say a very good morning to Hannah.
Well, good morning, Nicole. It is all happening down here. Just in a few minutes, our competitors are going to come into this arena where they're preparing the show jumping course for the Event Rider Masters this morning. The tension is palpable. It's the battle of the boys. Oliver Townend versus Thomas Carlyle. Can Christopher Burton cause a huge upset? We're really excited. I hope you are too.
Well, before we get underway with the show jumping, why don't we just look back on all of the dressage yesterday and remind ourselves on how the action unfolded.
Day 1 of the 3rd leg of the Event Rider Masters, and 32 of the world's best horses and riders have arrived in Belgium for the Concours Complete D'Arville.
The horse is serious and he's got so much ability. I'm thrilled to have him back competing. I mean, he's given me a really good feeling yesterday in the warm-up, so I'm confident. But yeah, can't wait to get going.
Double 4-star winner Janelle Price, riding Cloud Dancer, earned 24.7 from the dressage judges. A score matched by Oliver Townend and Kilnabrad and Evo. The British and Kiwi riders sharing 3rd spot on the leaderboard after this opening phase. Australian rider Chris Burton and Polystar performed an exceptional test to score 23.6, taking over 10 marks off their Wiesbaden score and putting them in a fantastic position going into their forte, the jumping phases. That combination held on to top spot for most of the day, until Tom Carlyle and Upsilon marked their return to the Event Rider Masters in style.
Good outline, relaxed. I mean, this is very, very good.
The current ERM dressage score record holders performed yet another superb test to score 23.3 and lead the pack, but by just 0.3 of a penalty going into show jumping.
Yeah, no, he was good, huh?
Come on, you've got to give me more than that.
He was his usual self. I mean, he's got that spark that others don't, and he's on his job.
Well, let's take a look at that leaderboard after the first of the phases. Thomas Carlyle and Upsilon, the French superstars, are bidding to win their 3rd ever Event Rider Masters leg. 23.3, the narrowest of margins over Chris Burton and Polystar, and Oliver Town and Janelle Price tied for equal 3rd at the moment. So Mark Todd, NZB Campino, another to keep a very close eye on, as is the Event Rider Masters specialist Bill Levitt, Shannondale Titan. Maxime Livio, Tina Delafief described as a crazy jumper in Maxime's interview yesterday. Keep a close eye on them in the show jumping. And a little bit further on, a bit of disappointment perhaps for Pivoine de Touche and Donatian Sholey, who couldn't quite recreate their Chatsworth form. Still a very, very close field though, and a poll covers the top 6. And so we expect it to be quite the challenge and shake up that leaderboard in the show jumping. Nils Trebe will be the first to get us underway in the show jumping shortly. But in terms of the dressage yesterday, would it be as expected for Echo Ratings?
Yeah, I think most of the people performed pretty much as expected. As we talked about yesterday, Upsilon had that question to answer. Having not been out as much recently, he answered it absolutely. He's leading. Oliver Townend's the other big one, Nicole. I think they delivered the test we expected. I think the final one I would pick out, apart from Polystar, I'm getting them all in, but I think apart from that, it's probably Cloud Dancer, Janelle Price. What a test.
Well, what a test indeed. It really was absolutely exceptional from Janelle Price. But Tim, her husband, living a little bit dangerously as he offered some constructive criticism after her test.
Well, I'm here with 2 superstars of the Event Rider Masters, Tim and Janelle Price, the husband and wife dream team. And we've got a little challenge for both of these two. They both had exceptional dressage tests today, but I have put it to Tim to analyse Janelle's dressage test and still remain married at the end of it. So I'm going to hand over the phone to you. You can watch through the dressage test, and I want you to tell me what it was like. here. We're going to talk about the first jump there and allude to it. And then the first big question is SAP, going into the crowd. Quite like to pace it out, so we'll come up to it, have a look. It's a big old spread, you know. And then we'll go round,
Brilliant
pace it
relationship
out.
between the
That's
two
good.
of them. Both Cloud Dancer, King Cooley Cruising did incredible
Well, I'm
tests
here with two
yesterday.
superstars
I
of
hope
the
you're not
event
gonna
rider
start
master.
critiquing me like that.
No, I don't think. I mean, I think we could do our kind of work husband, work wife, but no, I don't think so. I don't think it would end well for either of them.
No, probably not. Now, show jumping.
and then come round
Who
this
are the
side
best
and
jumpers in the field as we head into the
How
second
tight
phase?
it is.
Coming up, you've got Michael Young and Corazon. They're on 3 in a row. London 52 and Laura Collett never knocked a pole in their career. But look, if we're going to the big guns, let's talk about Oliver Townend, Kilden Brennan Evo. That's what's kept them so strong. They're 10 with Oliver, 14 in a row. Clark Johnston, would we say Balmoral sensation?
Absolutely. I love this combination, and actually it's a combination that we don't often get to see over on this side of the world. Let's take a closer look at this Superstars from New Zealand.
Brad, is he ready to delay? Have you ever not? What are you doing?
Well, we can't wait to see Clark and Balmoral sensation. You can certainly see why the horse is known as the Snowman at home. We'll be looking forward to seeing them show jump a little bit later on. But the show jumping, we're only a couple of minutes away from the start now. So let's go down to Hannah and take a closer look at just what is in store.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Well, I have commandeered Laura Collett, stopped her from walking the course because she's going to walk it with us. Right, Laura, we start over there. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so fence one is quite a narrow oxer, so it's a real nice first fence to get us going. You have a bit of a dog leg to an upright at fence two, swing round, the time will be tight, so to keep moving around the turn. Pretty big oxer at 3 before we come to the first real question on the course, which is double.
Right, well, let's go there. This is it. This is the first big question. They come down from the top. It's a big spread, isn't it, Laura? I don't know if the camera can see how wide it is. Longer than my arm. It's huge.
Yeah, it's big and decent going in, and then it's a fairly short 2 strides in the middle to a really big upright coming out going towards the crowd. So the rider has to be aware that the horses might just suddenly look up and drop their hind legs on the upright coming out, so we need to be quite positive here.
Right, now we see you all walking between the fences. What are you pacing out?
So we do 2 of our strides for the horse's landing, so that's where roughly the horse will land, and then 4 for each stride. So that's the first stride, and then the second stride, and then it should be 2 for takeoff. So we can see there it's quite a short 2, with quite a big oxer in. They'll get a big jump in, so we'll have to sit up and keep our shoulders up and make them wait a little bit on the 2 strides. But they will also back off a bit because of the crowd. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, how much you make them wait and how much you need to ride them because of the crowd in the background.
Okay, so after this, we head up. There's a water jump. There's plenty of stuff going up at the top. Anything big and bad up there?
The ox is fairly decent at fence 6, but you get a long distance running up to it, so it should be a nice level stride, but there's enough room to make an adjustment if you need to. You swing around the top to an upright, and another dog leg to an oxer before we swing round to the ERM.
Now this is scary. So you have an option here. You've got 2 Event Rider Masters fences. You've got planks and an oxer, Laura. What are you going to go with?
The planks are big, it's tight, it's big, and it makes the line to the next fence the treble a lot tighter. However, you jump the oxer, which is obviously the safer option. It's a long way round and they can go around fence 1, so the time is an issue there.
Right, let's see if we can just quickly go round and see how tight it is. Laura's going that side. So if she comes off the plank, she's going to land. Where are you going to land? About here? About here. And then you've got to get to that treble. Josh, our cameraman, following us around. The red and white. It is super tight. What is the key here?
The key is to jump the planks, land in a balance, keep the outside shoulder around the turn, get dead straight, and enough power into the treble because there's an oxer coming out.
She makes it sound so easy, doesn't she? Well, it's all going to remain to be seen what happens in a few minutes as our first rider comes into the arena. Laura, thanks and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is how the combinations will be lining up. Reverse order show jumping at Derby, the Echo Ratings ones to watch.
First one I can see on that list is probably Darcy and Shelley from 1 to 2. We've seen lots of clear rounds from them, and a lot of people looking forward to them. Straight away we're going to get into the really big ones. Clark Johnston there and Balmoral Sensation. Asti and Laura Collin, London 52, never had a pole in their career. Fernhill by Night is getting close, so certainly I would be keeping an eye on, there's so many on that list, you know, on that particular one. And then you've got Sarah Cohn, Treason, former winner, Mark Todd, Campino. Chica Bella is one of the top rated in the field, 8-year-old mare from Michael Young. They're on a good run, 3 in a row. And then you're on, look, you can see Kilner Brillanivo as you get close to there. He's on 14 clears in a row, and you can see Tom Carleal. If he can finish on his dress score, he can win, Nicole.
Chris Burton having a bit of a chat with the counterpart from Australia, Sam Griffiths, just making their final preparations. There's a real team spirit with a lot of the different nations coming forward here. They're not in a championship environment, but they all get on well. There's a good, healthy rivalry between them all as well. And Chris Burton coming forward with Polystar a little bit later on. Oliver Townend just to the left of your screen. He's making his final preparations, just striding out away from that water tray to the oxer down at 6, as Laura was explaining, 4 of their strides for every one of the horses as well. So Oliver just making his final preparations. Actually, Oliver going to be joining us in the studio for the first part of commentary as we get started with the show jumping phase as well. It's really interesting to see the riders interacting with each other as they make their final preparations, and we'll be due to get underway in just a couple of minutes' time here in Arville. Leg 3 of the 2018 Event Rider Masters Series, and we're looking forward to getting underway with this second of the phases. And Arville is a little bit of an unknown quantity in so much as there isn't a huge amount of data for this level of class here.
I mean, well, we've had 5 competitions here. So the first CIC 3-star, Nicole, ran here in 2012. And we didn't have a CIC 3-star last year. So 2012 to 2016 gives us 5 seasons. I think the big one I'd be picking out is we've never seen a lot of these riders take on the course before. You know, looking back at previous competitions, yes, both the jumping phases have been massively influential. So nobody has ever made the time. We're going to talk about that in the afternoon. We've had winners, of the 5 winners here, only 2 of them have actually jumped clear rounds in the show jumping. That's the complete opposite of everything we've seen with Event Rider Masters. We know, Nicole, in Event Rider Masters, you can pretty much say if they don't jump clear, they can't win. Only one person has ever done it. I think you're going to need a clear round today if you want to win.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing how all of the action unfolds. Only one person has ever won an Event Rider Masters leg with a problem in the show jumping. That was Gemma Tattersall, who had 2 down at Gatcombe with Arctic Soul last year. But so before we do get started, let's go back to Hannah, who is talking to Polish international superstar Paweł Spizak.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. I certainly am. We've just been talking about the course this morning and how big it is and how big the spreads are. Paweł, what's your take on the show jumping course?
Yeah, it's really tough. We saw not so many clear runs in the 3-star competition, so I think in the ERM also will be not so easy, but I'm motivated well. My horse jumped really good, so I hope everything goes fine.
I mean, to me, it seems to be the time is very tight. The jumps are big, it's a very, very tight course, and very few people making the time.
Yeah, I think this is the point for the ERM jumping courses, that they want to, that the time is really tough, and it makes that the possibility of the mistake is much, much easier. So we have to really, the riders, keep the nerves on and be really fast, but also really careful.
What are your expectations? How are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to do a clear round.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Well, very best of luck, Paweł.
Thank you very much.
Well, some crowds have been building here. We expect them to build more throughout the day as we head into the cross country this afternoon, which we will be bringing you live and free, eventridermasters.tv as well. Well, the final riders just making their preparations, walking their final distances, making sure they're happy with all of their plans in the show jumping, and they'll no doubt be conversing with one another as well. But everybody knows I do love an Equa Ratings prediction. I'm not going to ask you for the number of clear rounds now, but can you start preparing it for a couple of horses in?
Yes, I'm actually really glad that you've asked it that way for a change. That you've given me the opportunity to see how it runs. I think, look, I can tell you now that I can give you my list now if you want of the clears. I've got 3 or 4 here that I can guarantee clear.
Go on then.
For.
Who are the guaranteed clear rounds? Always a bit of terminology that I think makes people a little twitchy. Nothing is guaranteed in this sport, but go for it.
I'm only joking, but I would expect Oliver Townend, Kilnabred and Evo to jump clear. I would expect Gemma Tattersall, Chico Bella P, coming off the back of their 2 recent rounds. We don't see them often, but when we do see them, they tend to jump clear. Balmoral Sensation, I think I can put a tick beside him. Borough Pennies, Vittoria Panizan, I think we can say they'll be clear. Laura Collett in London 52, never had a pole in their career. I think they're going to be clear. Upsilon, I think he'll be clear. So I think I can say with confidence that we'll have at least 7, Nicole.
Okay, well, I wasn't pushing you for a number, but you've freely offered it. Okay, so will Equa Ratings be right? Will there be 7?
No, at least.
Oh, at least 7. Okay, bold, very bold. Okay. Well, let us welcome our pathfinder in the show jumping. One of 2 German riders in the field. It is Nils Trebe and Montina 4 for owner Marcus Rosendahl. Nils comes forward on a dressage score of 40.3 in 31st position after the first phase. And don't forget the show jumping running in reverse order of merit. So our leaders after dressage, Thomas Carlyle and Upsilon, will be the last combination to jump a little bit later on this morning. But Nils will be getting us started. And a combination actually who went really well in Wiesbaden last year. Finished 14th on their Event Rider Masters debut. And I'm delighted to say that we are joined in our commentary studio by none other than the man who's currently in 3rd position, was on the podium in Wiesbaden, Oliver Townend. Oliver, we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the course.
Yeah, it's going to be serious, I think. Literally just come out the ring from walking it. I hope the time's tight. It looks big and square and enough questions out there, that's for sure.
Well, the time allowed at the moment is 71 seconds. And those time penalties in the show jumping can certainly add up pretty quickly because a penalty for every second or part second thereof afterwards. Is it easy to make up time on this course, or have you got to keep moving?
There's a long way between some fences, so you're counting 8 and 9 strides, which, yeah, it's you know, a tough job. You've got to be tight, you've got to be forwards, and you've got to be on good jumpers. I like this mare. Is it a mare?
Montina 4 is a mare, 10-year-old by Montendro.
Yeah.
And actually, just sneaking inside the time, an unlucky part of the treble going for Nils Trebe, our Pathfinder, with Montina 4, but he looks reasonably pleased with that, 44.3. And that will just see him going forward on that score to the cross-country a little bit later on this afternoon. So Nils gets us underway. Oliver, he was looking very assured for the majority of that round, just unlucky pole.
Yeah, for me, he jumped a very good round. I like the horse a lot. I saw her actually in the dressage and liked her in that as well. Again, properly tight behind there. But, you know, she's jumped a good round. And for me, she's not an old horse for this level. She's going to be a lot of improvement in her.
Well, lots to like from our Pathfinder Nils Trebe Montina 4. As now the young Swedish superstar Ebba Adnevik with Henrik Adnevik's Carlos, at just 22 years of age. Ebba makes her Event Rider Masters debut here this weekend, comes forward on a score of 39.6, so into 30th position after the first of the phases.
He's a little bit steady and a bit deliberate, and she went round after fence 2 to fence 3, so for me she definitely so far should be on time penalties, but we shall see.
Is that perhaps she's playing it safe, she knows what she can ask for with that horse, and she's looking to try and leave the poles up rather than push for the time?
Maybe. She'll have a plan in her head, I'm sure.
Unfortunately, the pole's falling for Ebba. 2 down, 8 to add. So that means she'll drop below Nils Trebe and Montina 4 as she comes to the last goes as well. So a time penalty too. Just the one time penalty. Surprised, Oliver?
Yeah, very surprised. The time isn't going to be an issue for the top lot, I wouldn't imagine. You know, he was very deliberate on the screen, and she went round in a couple of places really. So the time's not going to be tight.
Well, it is worth noting that the ground jury could choose to tighten or indeed lengthen that time allowed in the show jumping should they so wish to do so. And they can do that any time between the first 3 horses. So we'll keep an eye on that time for you. 71 seconds is the time allowed as things stand at the moment. I think you'd like to see it a bit tighter.
Yeah, I would. Not just from my own personal point of view to try and help me, but also, you know, this is the Event Rider Masters. The time's meant to be tight. This is meant to be testing the best, and for that, we need to be under pressure.
Well, next to go is Francis Whittington, Hasty Imp for owner Margaret Smith, 35.4 in 29th position, and an early pole.
Again, added a stride a little bit there. I'm sure Francis knew what he was doing, but the horse basically didn't jump high enough. No excuse.
Coming through the SAP combination, this is a horse that's had a number of top 10 finishes in the Event Rider Master Series last year. Went very well in the series finale at Blenheim as well, was top 10 there as well as at Gatcombe. Now, we're coming back to the Event Rider Masters planks in just a second, Oliver. Talk us through this, because there's an option, isn't there? Riders can take the tighter plank line or a wider parallel, which is what Francis is choosing to do.
Yeah, Francis has chosen to do that and ended up going round the oxer. The plank sends you inside the oxer. So, again, it's just a time issue, but Francis will have seen that the time's very achievable. And as you can see, okay, it's had a time penalty, but it had an early fence down.
and he took the longer route at the planks.
That means that what's coming up now, we're going to find out now in the next minute, and it's going to be pretty crucial for, I would suggest, the rest of the competition. Is that time going to be tightened? We have to know now after 3 riders. After 3 riders, that time gets locked in. This is a key moment, I would suggest, because if that time is that achievable, it takes a little bit of pressure off. You can take a slightly different route, and you're going to see, I would suggest, probably more clear rounds.
And do you think we'll see more people taking the option and not risking the planks, Oliver?
Why not? I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If you've got a nice oxer to jump over the
sneaking over the middle part. He didn't give much room there, but he left it standing, which is the main thing. Well, don't forget, you can get involved with the SAP Spectator Judging app as well. And you can download that for free in your app store. You can judge along which fence do you think will be the most influential? Who do you think is going to jump clear as well? And who do you think is going to win here in leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters? Well, now a young lady from Italy, one of 2 Italians in the field, making her Event Rider Masters debut, Ludovica Manzoli, with her own pin-up Demai, 34.9, left them in 28th position after the first phase. And this is a horse that actually Ludovica made her debut at this level on a little bit earlier on this year in the Nations Cup in Verano in Italy, but has represented Italy at a number of Young Rider Junior Championships. And so far looking pretty accomplished in the arena, Oliver.
Yeah, looks very, very good. She seems a switched on girl. I know she's only young. She's got a horse that she did a good job on yesterday. I thought that the whole thing looked very professional. It's only a second CIC 3-star, she was telling me outside. So it's all experience. It's all a learning curve. But for me, she looks very, very good for the future.
And another that we've seen taking that slightly longer option.
Yeah, and I think she's going to be all right.
We'll just get an update on that time allowed for you very shortly, but the last goes. So the time's absolutely fine, but just rolling the final fence. Ludovica Manzoli, 4 to add, 38.9.
You know, looking at recent form, Nicole, they had 3 down in the CIC 3-star at Verano and also had 3 down in the CCI 2-star last year at Mill Street. They have had poles in all of, they had poles to 3 down and 2-star last year as well. So while when we're trying to get a read on the competition early, I would say very good round there. But again, everything's suggesting to me that we're going to have a jumpable track. Time's going to be achievable. I'm comfortable now, Nicole, to tell you that the 7 that I said would jump clear will jump clear.
Okay.
I think we can probably say 7. You can start looking at double figure clear jumping rounds, I'd suggest now.
Well, news just in is that time allowed of 71 seconds is remaining the same, so it will not be getting any tighter. And that does mean, Oliver, I think we'll see a few people looking to play it a little bit safer.
I can't understand that at all. For me, that's not the best decision, but
it makes your life easier a little bit later on.
But it tightens everything up also. It depends which way you look at it.
Well, Tom McEwen and Figaro Van Het Broeksoff in the arena now. Tom, a new ride for him this year, 34.6. There at dressage, scoring 27th position. Actually only had 1 international run as a combination prior to heading out here to Arville. That was at Houghton International in Norfolk in England in May. Finished 5th and actually did what Echo Ratings always talk about. Finished on their dressage score, Dermot Houghton.
This pair, yeah, and look, they're only a new combination, as you said, so haven't seen them a whole lot. They did jump clear on their only original outing, and I don't think the horse actually had as many clears up until that point. So again, we had asked the question, would they be? Again, what I'm starting to think now, Nicole, and it's still a little bit early in the competition perhaps, but what I'm starting to ask, clear round for Tom McEwen and Figaro, but what I'm starting to ask now is, will we see a competition almost like Barbary? Oliver, you'll remember Barbary 2017 Event Rider Masters. We didn't have as influential. It tightened everything right up. there isn't the opportunity for people at the top to get that crucial advantage. We talk about horses who get the crucial advantage with their great first phase displays, but what of a horse like yours, Oliver, like London 52 for Laura Collett, where their speciality is in the show jumping? Are they getting their opportunity to maybe push ahead?
I'm very much again sat here before I go in and jump around, by the way, but at the same time, I much prefer to hear when I'm outside in the warm-up collecting ring, even if I'm not on the best jumper. I like to hear disasters, because if everyone's going in and jumping clear, that lessens my chance of doing the best I can do, doing the best job for myself. When you hear clear round after clear round after clear round and you're on a good jumper, quite honestly, the smaller it is with horses like Silnebrad and Evo, Upsilon, the more likely you are to have a fence. The slacker the time, the more likely you are to have a fence, because you all of a sudden tightening up and trying to look after them rather than riding at the fence and riding to the time.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see how it does unfold. We've had our first clear round, courtesy of Tom McEwen and Figaro Van Het Broeksoff. But now it is Brazil and Marcio George with JCR winner 33.8. This combination scored in the first phase. And we had Mark Todd in the studio with us yesterday, who knows Marcio really well, trained the Brazilians in the lead up to the Rio Olympics when the horse was doing his dressage. Thinks a huge amount of this horse for the future. Only a 10-year-old. And not overly experienced at the level either. So Marcio comes forward, JCR winner, and probably one of the more extravagant jumpers that we've seen so far, Oliver.
Yeah, looks a really nice horse to jump. Marcio's good as well. He knows his horses very well. A lot of them he's bred, so he's had them from the get-go.
Actually, this is a horse that finished 8th at the test event for the Rio Olympics over
right?
in Brazil. So has competed on the other side of the world as well, but is choosing to take the inside line for the planks.
Yeah, a lot of faith in his horse, and I'm not surprised the job it's doing so far. The jumper.
We're just coming to the final fence. Will it be clear round number 2? Marcio George.
Yeah.
It is. It goes to Brazil, just sneaking inside the time. 33.8, the score that he takes forwards.
Well, I'm here with Tom McEwen, our first clear round of the morning. Tom, how was it?
Jump super, the going, the Sand Arena ride's amazing. The course is very flowing, very level, and delighted with them, jump brilliantly.
Okay, well, very best of luck for this afternoon, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Well, Tom McEwen will, I think, have him in the commentary studio a little bit later on this morning. At the moment, if you are just joining us, then Oliver Townend and Dernburn from Echo Ratings with us as we head into Borough Pennies and Vittoria Panizzon from Italy into the top 25 now. 33.1 their starting score. News come in that Izzy Taylor choosing to withdraw Direct Allure and Cruz, who were in 26th position overnight. So actually Izzy not coming forward in the show jumping or the cross country a little bit later on. But Vittoria knows this horse so exceptionally well. They were just outside the top 10 at the London Olympic Games when the mare was only a 9-year-old. And one of the horses in the field that you picked out as one to expect to clear round from.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think, looking at all their recent form, looking at all their experience, I mean, the big question that you actually ask on Borough Pennies is, because they jump so big, sometimes they can actually pick up time penalties. I think we've talked enough probably that it might not be an issue today, but looking at the recent rounds, they did pick up 3 time penalties at Gackham, and they did pick up 2 time penalties in the 2016 Event Rider Masters at Barbary. You can see here how far Borough Pennies clears these fences by. That's why she's such an icon almost in the sport.
And as a rider, Oliver, it must be so nice to be on a horse that wants to jump them this much.
A different world, I would imagine. No, look, the horse is a freak to me. absolute superstar of the sport. Feels to have been around for so long now, but God, you just dream of having a horse like this in your yard. She's just a different league of jumper.
Well, Vittoria Panizon, Borough Penny's coming to the final fence, and it is clear round number 3 here in Arville. They go forward to the cross country on their dressage score of 33.1. 7 looking fairly conservative at the moment in terms of clear rounds.
Yeah, I think so. No, I'm pushing it up and up and up all the time. So let's look for targets, Nicole. Barbary Castle 2017, we had 22 clear rounds from the 36 that went, 61%. That's the highest clear rate we have on record. Go back to Chatsworth 2016, that's the first ever Event Rider Masters. We had a very strong jumping field that day, 43%. So only once have we gone above the 50% bracket in terms of jumping clears. I'm expecting that we probably are going to get it again today. Keep an eye on those numbers. 17 clear rounds was Chatsworth, 22 was Barbary. They're the big ones.
Well, watch this space. Oliver and I just sharing a smile as Vittoria, those replays showing how much Borough Penny's does give clearance to her fences. But now it is Katja Weimann from Australia with BP Cosmopolitan. This is a horse 15 years of age now, but bred by the Weimann family. And Katja actually been based over on the continent, having been based for the early part of her career in Australia. That must bring a really different dimension, Oliver, experiencing 2 different sides of the world in the sport.
Completely, and it's an interesting decision to come to Europe to event, because obviously for me England is the place to go eventing if you're going to come over from the other side of the world. But she's made a decision, she's done well, she's been turning up at these ERMs and putting up very good performances, so really good on her.
Certainly jumping well so far. Made their Event Rider Masters debut in Wiesbaden. Round to the last, clear it very easily as well. So a good clear round in the jumping for Katja Weimann, BP Cosmopolitan. They go forward to the cross country on that score of 32.2. And that is clear round at number 4 here in Arville. And another horse, Oliver, that actually looked really comfortable in there.
Look, there's no danger of having a rail down from what I could see of the round. She rides him like a horse that she knows well, and he jumps good. He knows where the pole is.
Well, Donation Choli and Pivoine des Touches are coming forward now for France, 32.2. There's a combination actually who scored a really good dressage at Chatsworth and dropped out of contention slightly in the show, jumping with a couple of rails down. They'll be looking to put that behind them here today. The French, of course, building up to the World Equestrian Games a little bit later on this year. And it's a horse that actually has competed at the highest level. Was 6th at Pau a few years ago. Had a couple of years off through injury.
Big one for me, Nicole, is that Jardy round last year. That 2017 Jardy ERM, that was one of the toughest show jumping rounds we saw. Anyone that's come through that has gone on with fairly strong form ever since. This is Pivoine des Touches, is one of the horses that came through Jardy, and not many did that day with a clear round, no time penalties. Big indicator that in terms of future clears for me, and we're still on track so far.
Oliver, I think you're going to have to dash off in just a moment, so we'll say goodbye to you in a minute. But Donation Choli, clear round number 5 on a score of 32.2. It is really stacking up that leaderboard here in Arville. Oliver, good luck. You'll be 3rd or 4th last to go with Kilnabrad and Evo.
I'm dashing off with a touch of depression after watching all this. Clear rounds. Anyway, thank you very much.
We'll be expecting one from you a little bit later, and I'm sure you'll deliver.
I hope so.
So Donation Choli, a very good round with Pivoine des Touches. So joining us in the studio will be a young man who's actually already been and jumped in the arena. We'll be looking to get some inside information, and it is none other than Tom McEwen. Tom, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on a lovely round.
Yeah, no, delighted with him. He jumped super around this track. Obviously, being on these British horses, it's lovely to be jumping on such a great surface. And these horses are jumping brilliantly off it.
Well, next to come forward will be Clark Johnston, but that is the combination, fence 11, the final fence that has been the most influential so far. So it is questions right until the very end. And Clark Johnston, Balmoral Sensation, 32.1. A little disappointed with their dressage yesterday. How is the course jumping though, Tom? We've certainly seen a few clear rounds so far.
Yeah, most definitely. I did think there'd be a few clear rounds. The horses here are top quality. There's not many sort of tight turnbacks, not too many options apart from the plank. The distances are very level, and actually the riders are now such a capability of jumping such decent sized tracks, like Clark, who's also jumping out of New Zealand.
He Grand Prix show jumps on this horse, doesn't he? As an event horse, how difficult is that for them to excel in two different disciplines?
Yeah, very. Clark does it with ease, and so does a lot of riders. But it is difficult. They're two different types of horses. We see Clark there going for the first one I've seen take the long option for the oxer rather than the vertical plank. But he seems to be just a little bit tight on the time.
Well, just sneaks inside. He a bit of a release of air, I think. Clark Johnston and Balmoral Sensation living up to Echo Rating's prediction that they would jump a clear round.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes, I think I said at least 7. He was definitely one that I had a guaranteed tick beside. I don't think Oliver wanted to hear any more about me talking about that. He had a guaranteed tick beside him as well. I think we're going to see a couple now in the next group that I think we're probably going to see, 3 or 4 coming that you can probably put the same tick beside. So stand by.
Well, next to come forward will be Astier Nicolas with Vinci de la Vigne. And this is a horse that is relatively inexperienced at this level. Only stepped up to 3-star in 2017. Had one run actually with Thomas Carlyle in the plate while Astier was off with a knee injury. That was at Barbary last summer. Then went on to Boekelo in the Netherlands and secured a really good 4th place finish. But just the second element of the SAP combination catching him out, Tom.
Yeah, he's started off in a lovely, great rhythm. And like you said, the horse may be lacking experience, but Astier has more than enough. And an excellent rider, especially a jump rider. Just in the double there, you just see him just couldn't quite pick himself back up off the floor to get his shoulders back up for the upright coming out.
Well, 35.2, that costs him quite some places on the leaderboard. He drops from 21st down to 27th.
And another one also taking the longer option. I thought the planks seemingly jumped very well all day. A lot of horses do jump bigger courses than they're expected to do for show jumping, like you said with Clark's horse, and I just thought actually it's a very obvious option for the horses to have a good jump at.
Well, just sneaking over the time allowed, actually. 1 time penalty and 4 jumping for Astier Nicolas, Vinci de la Vigne, and that's going to cost them a few places on that leaderboard.
Well, Clark Johnston, skin of your teeth within the time. How was it?
I'm thrilled. Just snuck inside the time. I added 1 stride to the last fence and I thought I might have to pay for that, but just snuck in by 0.19, I think it was, so really thrilled.
Okay, well, all to play for this afternoon then.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully another sneak inside the optimum.
Okay, very best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, lots to look forward to this afternoon. This leaderboard is very, very tight at the top. Every pole, every time penalty, every second over the time cross country is going to count. Laura Collett next to come forward with London 52 for owners Karen Bartlett, Keith Scott and herself. This horse that is relatively inexperienced at this level, but one that I know has been watched by many on the circuit for a couple of years now in young horse classes. Has been going very well at 2-star level. has already had a win at Bicton a little bit earlier on this year. Finished on their dressage score to take 6th at Tattersalls in Ireland. And in terms of the series, Laura, she's inside the top 20 in 18th position at the moment. Series points on offer.
Yeah, look at this jumping, Nicole. If she can stay in, so London 52's never had a pole down. 8 internationals. As you've said, this is their first CIC, or their second CIC 3-star. They did jump clear in their first. We've gotten used to talking about Laura and Mr. Bass finishing on their dressage score. London 52 is starting to show the same profile. Tom, they're clearing these fences.
It's just phenomenal to watch. There's such balance. Like everyone's been watching this horse come up through the ranks with Laura, and it's just the most phenomenal jumper. And it's one of those ones that you can usually watch with comfort.
He just had a bit of a discussion on that corner, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been playing a little bit with his mouth. Laura actually went outside of the last fence after she jumped fence 2. I mean, pot the plank. This looks like nothing. And I've been at national jumping shows where she's been jumping sort of 130 tracks with ease. So.
Well, the time looks absolutely fine as she comes round to the final fence. Laura Collett, London 52, clear the last, and they'll stay on that score of 31.0. No worse than 18th position. She knew it's a good show jumper, Derm. You told us it was a good show jumper. They've just proved us all right. 9
in a row, never had an international pole. Also very good at finishing under dressage score. Mr. Bass, number 2, is coming for Laura Collett. Very exciting for them for the series. Already on 19 points. A good finish here keeps them with great momentum.
Actually, 24 points. She's
24,
got even more points than
yeah,
that. Fourth
Polystar
place.
is 19 and Collett's on 24, yeah.
And I mean, there was absolutely no chance he was touching that SAP Oxer, Tom.
Absolutely not a chance. Not anywhere. It was a real pleasure to watch. I mean, this horse is incredible.
Well, Sam Griffiths, Happy Times, our latest starter. Actually, the first that we've seen, I think, to have the first down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very narrow, quite simple looking Oxer, really. But obviously, it's all about your preparation in the warm-up, and sometimes horses aren't quite with you when you're coming to the first fence.
It must feel like a really long course when the first goes.
It is, especially when you're fully aware that everyone's jumping very nice, clean rounds and jumping clear with inside the time. It just makes it that bit tougher.
Well, another goes as well, and that costs him an additional 2 places on the leaderboard. So he was in 18th position. He's already dropped 10 places with 2 down.
I mean, especially at this end of the leaderboard until we get to top ones, everyone is just so tight. I mean, anything will cost you. And especially watching the 2-star earlier this morning, if anything's to go by on time out in the cross country, it's going to be quite fast.
Ooh, this middle part of the treble goes as well. The time looks okay as he comes around to the last. He rattles the last, but it does stay in the cup. So 11 places on the leaderboard. Those 12 jumping penalties cost Sam, and I think he'll be a little disappointed.
Oh, you would be. I mean, he's been an incredible horse. I mean, everyone's been lucky enough to see him go around Badminton, Berlin and Championship. I mean, everyone knows his name. Everyone knows who he is. It's yeah, of course. I mean, he's delighted to be here, and yeah, you'd expect it to clear really from him.
Well, disappointment for Sam Griffiths and Happy Times. 3 down, 12 jumping faults in total, 7 clear rounds on the board so far. And this accommodation, actually, I'm really looking forward to watching because it is Sydney Dufresne and Trésor Mail, who also on a score of 31.0, so the same score as Laura Collett in that first phase. And actually, Sydney went really well at Barbary with this horse last year. Finished it just off the podium in 4th place in the Event Rider Masters with a very, very quick round in the cross country. Jump clear on that occasion, Derm. Would we be expecting the same again today? Because if they're fast in the cross country, that's all to play for.
Exactly, and you absolutely nailed it with that, because the real key for this horse is the speed. This is going to be a bit of a time test, as Tom mentioned. So what you're looking for here is just that platform to allow you to stay competitive. Still clear at the moment. They are coming off the back of a reasonable record of clear show jumping round. Last time out at Vairano. Last year we had a couple of places where we had poles down. 1 down at Stragom and 1 down as well at Tattersalls. So a clear round here would be a big bonus for them because of their quality in the next phase, because of that speed quality that's going to come in.
And choosing to play it safe and take the Oxer, Tom.
Yeah, he did, but you can see that he was fully aware from the start of the course that he was going to do it. He's kept lovely rhythm. From the black plank down to the orange oxo, he came on a really forward 7 strides, and it is short in there, and he has been flowing forward, but you said a very unlucky pole considering the rest of the round, because it was a beautiful round to watch.
Fortunately, it is 4 to add for Sydney Deflen and Tresor Mail, so that cost them some 7 places on the leaderboard. It's expensive when those poles are falling now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone's so tight, these horses are all so competitive. You'd probably expect a majority of the horses here to sort of really jump sort of nearly clear 4 faults, so it's going to be really tight, and it definitely, even though horses jump very well, I think there'll be a bit of a shake-up later on.
Well, watch this space as next to come forward another French rider, Maxime Livio with Tina de la Fief, 30.8 their starting score. Now, Maxime said actually in his interview after his dressage yesterday that this horse, he described her as a crazy jumper. I'm thinking that means that she's excels in the jumping phases.
Let's hope so.
They went really well in Namur last year. Finished in 4th place in the long format 3-star. Had a bit of time off. So this the horse's first 3-star, in fact, first international run since that. So we're nearly a year away from the international scene. But Maxime, a real competitor, isn't he, Tom? He'll have this horse primed exactly where he wants her.
Exactly. And now we can see what you're saying. I mean,
crazy jumper.
It is. It looks like we're jumping some sort of small Grand Prix rather than an eventing show. It's a beautiful jumper. It looks like a small little pocket rocket. And I watched his test yesterday and thought it was very nice. And as always with Maxime, if you watch any of his round show jumping, he excels in it, and he's quite phenomenal to watch. Very level head and knows exactly what he's doing. Sort of, you've seen there to Sydney that he's had an additional stride down to there.
Tina de la Fief, Maxime Livio, had to work hard coming out of the combination.
Yeah, completely opposite to last horse. It is a sort of shorter striding horse, and he came in very tight into the first part of the treble. Crikey, is definitely it's a mad jumper.
Well, we see what he means now. Maxime Livio, Tina de la Fief for 30.8. The score that they take forward, they will hold that position. So they will go ahead of Laura Collett still. And we'll make sure they keep their position going forward into the cross-country a little bit later on. But she didn't give him the easiest rides. He had to really ride her, but she was exceptionally careful for him.
Yeah, it's like you said, as soon as she got to the base of the fence, she knew exactly what she was doing. It was, yeah, in between she also thought she knew exactly what she was up to as well.
Well, Maxime Livio has yet to be on an Event Rider Masters podium. He's come close at Bramham in 2016 with Picador, but can he make it onto the podium this weekend? Well, into the top 15 here in leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters, the reverse order in the show jumping as Christopher Forsberg comes forward with Hippo's Sapporo, 30.5. Their starting score. Christopher absolutely delighted with that dressage yesterday. And he'll be looking to back that up with a good clear round in the show jumping. Just rattle a little in the second part there, but it stayed. Sometimes you need a little bit of a lady luck.
Of course, I definitely had a little bit of lady luck as well, but yeah, everyone needs a little bit of luck on the side, but it's just the way he rattled it. He came around it on top and sort of rolled over it rather than sort of jumping at it.
For Forsberg, he went very well in Wiesbaden a little bit earlier on this year, was 14th there, I think, and he is choosing the planks and paying the price, Tom.
He has the first one that I've seen personally do it. You just saw him, usually you have the next fence down from the fence before, and he drifted quite far right over the oxo before that plank, and yeah, just jumped out the fence. He actually jumped a really nice round.
Well, rattled the last. That cost him 8 places on the leaderboard. 34.5 for Christopher Forsberg and Hippo's Sapporo.
Alex Bragg.
Gemma
I'm going to try and catch Christopher Forsberger before he goes. How was it?
That was good. I had a really good round in the first half. Then I lost it a little bit, maybe a little bit my nerves, but he jumped super, and he's a little bit not the perfect jumper, but he's always a big trier and a big heart, so that's why I love him.
Okay, well, very best of luck this afternoon, Christopher.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, we're halfway through the jumping here, leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters. In the studio with us, Tom McEwen and Derm Byrne giving us all the echo-rating stats. 8 clear rounds so far, Derm. Is that, well, you said that we were going to have more than 7. You've been proven right already.
The key one I'm beginning to look for now is I'm beginning to look at the history of the Event Rider Masters and where those big venues have given us the big clear rounds and whether this is going to move into the top 3. If we can get to 11, Nicole, 11 of 32, that would be 34%, and that would bring us into the top 3 in terms of clear jumping rounds in the history of the Event Rider Masters. It would go past Barbary 2016.
Well, Liz Halliday-Sharp now with Deborah Halliday's Fernhill by Night. Can they make it clear round number 9? Liz, very experienced. This is a horse that's hugely experienced as well. Finished 6th at Blenheim in the Event Rider Masters Series finale last year. 30.5, cannot afford a single penalty to stay ahead of Maxime Livio, Tom.
Yeah, jumping a very nice fluent start to the round. Went down there on the 7 strides, which you see most of the riders do. It's all jumping really well, and what Derm's saying, I think we will see the 11 clears today.
Liz coming round towards the final line. I think her time's perhaps a little steadier than we've seen so far. Do you think she's still okay?
She's going to be tight. She's taken her time, put the shoulder round on the corner to get really straight. It's just where she goes now with the turn, and if she's fully aware, if sort of she doesn't add too many to the last.
Do you get a good view of the clock?
No.
No, so she's...
You've got to have your own body clock slightly set, and you've got to be slightly aware. Yeah, just round the corner, I think if she'd just come a little bit tighter, she would have been a bit closer to the time.
Well, 3 time penalties for Liz Halliday-Sharp and Fernhill by Night, which sees them drop outside of the top 20.
Interestingly, follows recent form, did jump clear, but picked up time penalties at Wiesbaden and at Carolina. So their last 2 rounds, clear jumping, but with time penalties. That's the question that was asked in Stacks, Nicole, the Echo Rating Stacks game that people are playing, the prediction game. You can get it on the App Store at the moment. People are trying to build a line of correct answers, but the time penalties question was the one that was asked. That's knocked people right back down.
Well, Kirsty Johnston next to come forward. WTTL opposition Skylaw 29.8 in 13th position, so just outside the top 10 after a very solid performance in the dressage phase yesterday afternoon. Kirsty actually top 10 on her Event Rider Masters run at Blair Castle with this horse back in 2016, and one that comes here in some really good form as well. We're 8th at Bramham.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be at Bramham. She absolutely flew round at Bramham, and that was a tough show jumping track there. But sometimes you find when more clears are being jumped and riders and horses are finding it a bit easier, you actually sometimes find more pressure is put on the riders because they know sort of the only option is really a clear round to keep you in it.
She's looking like she's having to anchor WTTL opposition Skylaw a little bit.
She was, but Elizabeth was about here on the same time, so they were about on that corner coming into the treble on roughly the same time.
Do you think perhaps she knew that she needed to catch up a bit of time and unfortunately that cost her a pole, or...?
I think a little bit. It's sort of the horse has got a little bit keener as the rounds come on. Okay, you didn't see it with Maxime's short striding horse, but it is quite reasonably short, especially coming out that treble, and they're just struggling just to back themselves off to get themselves in the air.
Well, 8 places that pole costs her on the leaderboard, and we just get the opportunity to see that again.
Just the slightest brush with the hind legs.
They go down ridiculously easily sometimes, don't they?
This is how it could be maddening to watch show jumping sometimes. You sometimes see a pole rattle and jump back in, and a little brush like that, and it rolls straight off.
Well, Bill Levitt now with Shannondale Titan, 29.8 their starting scores. They were on the same score as Kirsty, so an equal 13th position. This is a horse who has competed in 14 Event Rider Masters legs, has become such a firm favourite in the series. Best placing was in 5th in Wiesbaden last year, I believe. 6th at Blenheim at the end of last season as well. But I mean, Bill knows this horse inside out. They couldn't know each other any better, Tom. That's got to be a huge help.
Exactly, in these Master Series, they're usually tough show jumping, tight times, and knowing your horse, especially doing that many legs, it must be a huge help. And I don't want to jinx it, but I watched Bill's round earlier and it was stunning. So it often goes when you're in form, you're in form.
And he's been in some good form recently, hasn't he, Bill himself? You know, he was 3rd at Tattersalls, went really well at Bramham as well. So there's a lot to like in his confidence levels too.
And you could see there that he was fully aware that that treble would have been short for him. He took the balance on the turn. He knew where the time was. He just saw the time, and he was very well balanced for a big striding horse for the treble.
Well, that is clear round at number 9, Bill Levitt and Shannondale Titan. And this a combination that in the cross country this afternoon, if they put their foot down, could be chasing that time as well.
Yeah, I think potentially, Nicole. I mean, they've got to put their foot down if they want to chase the time, would be where I'd be seeing that, because they have got time penalties cross country in most of their recent runs. I think that's going to be very influential this afternoon. You mentioned it, Tom. You mentioned, I heard you talking in an interview yesterday about the undulations. I think that's probably going to be what decides potentially this competition.
Most definitely, it's not the undulations, isn't it? It's like a Gatcombe last year for the RM when you're running down huge hills and back up them. It's more there's slight undulations coming to fences, so you always have to be very balanced. It's quite twisty. There's a few pulls up hills. There's a couple of gallops. It's got all the ingredients to be quite an exciting competition because it comes up a little bit sort of testing and tight, and yeah, it should be a good show.
Not going to know the winner until the last horse crosses the finish line this afternoon, but this is a lady who has crossed the finish line and won an Event Rider Masters leg previously. That was in Wiesbaden last year. Sarah Cohen and Treason had to work pretty hard at the first part.
Yeah, she did. She looked like she knew where she's off to, and Treason wasn't quite with her. Yeah, he knows his job, and he has just been drifting. He hasn't quite been staying on a true line. He is jumping very well.
Well, that one pole down cost her 8 places on the leaderboard. That is how expensive it is proving.
She's also going for the plank, which I think you've got to be very aware right from the first fence whether you're going to be taking the option of the Oxer there.
Well, she rattled the middle part of the treble, but it stayed. So coming round to the final fence, Sarah Cohen and Treason, they rattle the last as well. Sneak inside, the time allowed 33.7. So drops them 8 places on the leaderboard, that one pole down. I think she might be a little disappointed with that, because she's certainly capable of going quick across the country. Would be one of those that is the faster in the field. But we just get the opportunity to see this again, Tom.
Yeah, as you can see, they're both already turning to come back for the turn back round to the black pank, and yeah, just slightly tightened behind. But there you can see the real athleticism of him, absolutely jumping what is quite a big Oxer into that treble, and then really shortening up to come out over the upright.
Well, next to come forward, it is Sir Mark Todd with NZB Campino, the horse that he actually rode at the London Olympics in 2012, finished in 12th place individually there, and in 11th here. This horse hasn't run at a competition since Poe of last year, but hugely experienced, 15 years of age now. 11th after the first face, so we're heading towards the top 10. Clear as they come to the SAP combination at 4. I mean, there's no better man on board, is there? Am I right in thinking you were based with Mark for a number of years?
I think I was based there for about 3 or 4 years. There's been a few of us. There's me, Sydney was also Mark's rider before I went there. There's been quite a few of us that have come up through ranks. I was unbelievably lucky. He's such a... You can't have any more natural horseman. Probably wasn't the right thing to say.
I don't think we can deny that he's a natural horseman. I think that's okay. But one pole down actually is expensive for Mark.
Yeah, unbelievably lucky to be based at his, and it was a privilege and learnt an awful lot.
Well, now they start to get really expensive, so he drops from 11th down to 26th. It comes round to the last. The time looks okay, but Mark Todd, 8 to add, 37.4, drops down to 26th on the leaderboard. So Bill Levitt climbs ever closer to the top 10 as we are about to go into the top 10 here in leg 3 of the Event Rider Masters. The show jumping phase certainly proving reasonably influential so far.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and grab a quick word with Mark Todd. 2 fences down. Expensive, Mark.
Yeah, it was expensive. You know, he's been out of the ring for a long time. We're both a bit rusty here, I think. So disappointing, but you know, that's how it is.
That's how it goes, I'm afraid. We'll let you get on. Gemma Tattersall up next.
Well, next to come forward, we are inside the top 10. Now, 10 more combinations to go. The reverse order in the show jumping means that Thomas Carlyle and Upsilon will be our leaders. After dressage, they are coming forward as the last combination to jump. So 10 to go. The first of those is Gemma Tattersall and Chica Bella P on a score of 29.1. They're within 14 seconds on the cross country of our leaders. So all to play for now, and any mistakes prove very expensive. Derm, 9 clear rounds so far. Can we see how many we're going to get from the final 10?
From the final 10, I would say 5. That would bring us up to 14, and 14 would actually be enough to get us the second highest clear jumping percentage in ERM history. It won't catch Barbary 2017, but it may go past Chatsworth 2016. I've got 5 ticks beside 5 horses. This is one of the ticks, by the way.
Okay, well, clear so far. Tom, this is a horse that, again, is a very natural show jumper.
So, they are both fantastic jumpers. I could see 6 clears, I think, from these top 10.
Okay.
Yes, Tom, I'm glad you're getting in on the predictions.
This
is what it's about.
I need to get the app.
Have you got a tick next to Gemma as well?
I don't really want to say anything. So I don't wanna,
We're putting you on the spot now. Gemma will be coming after you if she has a poll and you've said she's going to jump clear.
Exactly.
Well, look, she did jump clear at Blenheim 2017 in the Event Rider Masters. She did jump clear in that very difficult Jardy round Event Rider Masters. What I would say is that they picked up 2 time penalties at Jardy. That was a difficult time. How's their time looking at the moment, Nicole?
Actually, okay. She can't afford to hang around too much, can she, Tom?
No, she can't. She knows what she's doing. We see her enough jumping in the winter with all these horses.
Wow, Gemma Tattersall, Chica Bella P clears the last inside the time, 29.1. She'll definitely be in the final 10 riders heading out on the cross country. And actually, those 2 time penalties in Jardy cost her the top spot on the podium, finished in an eventual 4th place. So she'll be pleased that she won't be repeating that mistake here.
She won't. What I'm interested in, Nicole, is who Tom has his. So, Tom, you've got 5 more to go from. I want to know who you've got your ticks beside. So you just tell me before the horse comes in if you've got one of your ticks on beside these as a clear round. Next up's going to be a young 8-year-old mare with, I suppose, one of the top riders in the sport, Michael Young. I'm going for a clear round here.
I'm also going for a clear round.
Excellent. Okay.
Though it's not Mickey Young.
Well, next to come forward is actually Pavel Spizak. So Michael Young jumping out of order. So Pavel Spizak for Poland coming forward. And he is in 7th position, 28.1. Did a really super dressage yesterday. But a pole goes early, and that drops him out of the top 10.
A pole went before I got to ask you, Tom, if you had your tick on.
No tick.
Okay.
I've actually never seen this horse compete before.
He was, last time out he was in Kentucky, and they had a pole down. and a time penalty.
Yeah.
They were in Bretoni earlier in the year and had a pull down, and also Jardy, they were in that influential that we ERM class that we were talking about. They had a pull down. On each occasion, they have limited it to one pull, so they'll be hoping to keep that from here.
Yeah. He's jumping a very good rhythmical round. He knows which spot, he knows the horse, he knows where he needs to be in front of the fence to give it the best possible chance.
The time looks okay, so Pavel Spizak of Poland just comes to the last. I said the time looks okay, it's actually looking pretty close, and it runs over for 2 time penalties as well, so 1 pole down, 2 time penalties, and that proved really expensive, those final couple of penalties.
Exactly, because he was taking the time to jump the fences, then that's where you have the problem with the time, because the time isn't too difficult, but you need to keep the rhythm up. The distances are all very level, and because he was protecting his horse a little bit from the fences, he just took his time a little bit more.
Well, Pavel Spizak and Banderas heading to the World Equestrian Games for Poland a little bit later on this year in Tryon, I imagine. 1 pole down, so 4 jumping and 2 time penalties to add for them. But this incredible arena here at Tom, I mean, you couldn't ask for more idyllic conditions to jump on.
It's a stunning venue. The surface here is unbelievable. We have a lovely indoor school to warm up in, which you can see Tim coming up from now. This is one of my ticks, I think.
Okay. Well, this would be big in terms of the series, Derm.
This would be massive in terms of the series. We keep talking about momentum. You're trying to build enough momentum in the series that you don't feel that it's out of your hands. You know, 5 counting scores this year from 6 rounds. He's set himself off on a very, I suppose, strong start, but not necessarily by doing it by way of wins. There's a couple of different ways you can approach the Event Rider Masters. Oliver Townend won his title by 2 or 3 very big results towards the end. Gemma went for, she obviously got the big wins, but also had kind of consistency across the series. Tim Price has a 5th place finish and a 13th place finish. That's been enough to see him with 36 points sitting on top.
And it is the best 5 of 6 scores to count. So, all to play for Tim Price. And now he really thinks a huge amount of this horse. Kincooley Cruising, just a 9-year-old mare by Creva Ferro, who's actually the same sire as Kilnabrad and Evo, who we'll see a little bit later on. Owned by Susan Lamb. And a horse that isn't that experienced at this level, but has been widely regarded on the circuit over the last few years. Won Tattersalls 2-star last year. And Tom, you were nodding there. Is this one you've admired?
Yeah, most definitely. I actually had it in when Sammy Birch had him. I had him for a couple of months in.
Okay.
Lovely horse, really nice as a young horse, and then followed it all the way through there. It's jumping very well. You can just see that it's just having a look around the arena, sort of to that second fence. Which you can't quite see on the camera. It is directly into the big screen here. And you can just see him slightly wearing his view.
Maybe not seen many big screens before. He was like, oh, that's me.
Exactly.
Well, Tim certainly didn't waste any time on that turn.
No, he's not wasting any time anywhere. Though he's keeping up a very good rhythm, but I think he could be slightly tight on the time.
Ooh. Just taking the first part of that treble, and actually that drops him outside the top 12. No, outside the top 10, I should say. But a good clear of the last. So inside the time, 1 pole down, perhaps a little unlucky to roll the first part of that treble. 32.1 for Tim, and a bit of a wry smile there as well.
Yeah, I think the horse is new to this level. Tim is an unbelievable jockey. I think you'll see very consistent clears from them from now on, but it's an experience, there's a bit going on. Literally all he did was come around the corner, just slightly touched it with his back legs, come around, just dropped.
But again, in terms of the series, there's good points that go down the top 10. So if Tim can put in a strong performance on the cross country, then this is still a combination who could feature as we head towards the end of leg 3 of the 2018 Event Rider Masters series. So Tim Price, Kincooley Cruising, just the 1 pole down. As next to come forward, it is the hugely experienced Karen Donkers. Karen rides Jalapeno. 10-year-old mare by Chilly Morning, the badminton 4-star winner. The horse that was individually 12th at the Rio Olympic Games. 26.7, so within a fence of our leaders, Thomas Carlyle and Upsilon now in 6th position. And this is where it really starts to pay, but a bit of a disagreement there, Tom.
Oh yeah, she was one of my ticks. Yeah, she obviously, had a moment right on the corner. I wasn't too sure. She had gone outside the last fence after jumping fence 2. And they just had a bit of disagreement on the corner, and there was just a little bit too far off to be able to make that back rail.
Well, 1 pole down cost her 3 places on the leaderboard, so it isn't the end of the world by any means.
Yeah, you can see there again, sort of little lack of the rhythm coming round the dog's leg there.
Not making life easy for Karen.
No, not at all. It's a very good jumping horse.
She got away with that rub at the early part of the treble. It came down very easily for Tim, but Karen gets away with it. 1 pole down so far, so she comes to last. The time's going to turn red as well. That is 2 time penalties, and those 2 time penalties actually dropping her outside the top 10 as well. So 32.7, the score that Karen Donkers and Jalapeno take forward to the cross country. So 6 in total, and that is going to see them drop below Bill Levitt and Shannondale Titan. So we're heading into the final few riders. We've 6 riders left to jump, 9 clear rounds so far of the final 6, Derm. How is your list of clear rounds looking?
Still strong, still strong. I think we've got Michael Young Corazon. I think we've got Kilnabron Evo and Oliver. Polystar and Upsilon. So that is 1, 2, 3. I'm still going for 4 from 6.
4 from 6. Are you going to give us names?
No, because that's mean on the 2 that won't. But you can work it out yourself. I have just given you the names.
Okay, fair enough.
You, how's Tom McCune's predictions going?
I've given up with this awful game.
I think Tom's list hasn't been going to plan.
Well, there's lots of people making predictions at home at the
we've
moment.
got 6 left.
So Therese Wickland is just having her last few minutes talking to Fredrik Bergendorf, who's head coach of Swedish Fencing. He's just passing on a last couple of bits of advice, but let's go to Hannah.
Well, someone that had a very, very nice round. Gemma Tattersall, you must be delighted.
Yeah, Chicamella is just unbelievable. She hasn't even done a national event, let alone an international event. She goes in there and jumps like that. She really is a special mare.
Quite a turnaround from yesterday.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at dressage, but I'm much better at jumping, so.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit, Gemma. Best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
So now to come forward is Therese Wickland and Diabolique, who were absolutely delighted with their dressage yesterday. 25.8, they were last to go. That's in 5th position after the first phase. Unfortunately, were disturbed a little during their test by Belgium scoring a goal in the World Cup, which sent up a bit of a cheer from some of the spectators. And I think they would have been on course to be a little bit further up the leaderboard even. So remember this combination's name, because they've got a big future ahead of them. And Theresa actually spent an early part of the spring season spending time based over in England with Fred.
Yeah, I must say I don't know much about this combination. I think Belgium scored enough goals the other day for enough people to be sort of inhibited. Literally caught the back rail there. Just didn't quite make the spread over the top of the Oxer coming into the double.
Another pole down, and those 2 down actually proves very expensive. I mean, you can see on that leaderboard, Tom, it drops her from 5th down to 18th.
Yeah, it's been very expensive.
Well, the poles keep falling, and unfortunately, seeing Theresa drop well outside the top 20 with those 3 poles down, actually is proving fairly influential as we head into the top half of the running order, coming round to the last. So 12 to add so far.
I think, like I said, when you've got the pressure of hearing that majority of combinations are jumping clear, it's sometimes put, especially on these top riders, they know how close it is. sort of a bit more pressure on.
Well, pressure certainly breeds mistakes in the final few moments. We've seen it on the cross country before, and there's one of those poles going. So unfortunately, 12 jumping to add for Theresa Wickland and Diabolique.
A few problems, actually.
We've got ageing roadways,
Aging power grids.
aging everything. We also have the age-old problem of bias in the workplace.
Really? Never heard of it.
The question is, who's going to fix all of this? An actor? Probably not. But you know who can solve it? Business. Because solving big problems is what business does best. So let's take on the wage gap, the opportunity gap, the achievement gap. Whatever the problem, business can help. And I know who can help them do it.
Well, Oliver Townend, our latest starter, out on course. Clear through 3. 24.7. Equal third position.
Yeah, he jumped the first line and he was very quick around that first corner back to fence 3, and very balanced.
Now, Kilnabrad-Nevo has a very strong record in this phase, one that you've not been shy in telling us about.
No, but I'm actually so nervous, Nicole, because I've been so strong in this that I know you're going to come back to me if I'm wrong. But 14 clear rounds in a row. They're building close to world record in terms of a streak of clear rounds. 10 of them have been with Oliver. It's been the phase that's given him a great platform in every one of his Event Rider Master performances. He's clear so far, Nicole.
Well, he comes round to the final fence. He was very calculated in taking that easier option. He certainly spoke to us a little bit earlier on about that. Oliver Townend, Kilnabrad-Nevo have put the pressure on the top 3 still to come. 24.7. They've been on an Event Rider Masters podium already this year. Can they make it too?
Yes, Nicole, I've told you from the start, they are the favourites and they're rightly favourites. But look, we're going to see Upsilon jump, but pressure's back on him now. I can tell you privately that was a horse that Tom McEwen gave a tick to in terms of clear rounds. He hasn't been saying them out loud, but I can see his ticks. He's got one beside Upsilon and he's got one beside Michael Young. I think the other one to join, that's probably going to be Chris Burton and Polystar. But we'll wait and see.
Watch this space. Oliver Townend, Kilnabrad-Nevo, they're so strong in the show jumping, but they are strong in the cross country as well. They've 4 Event Rider Masters podiums to their name. They won 2 legs in 2016, instrumental in being part of Oliver's title challenge on that occasion. As here comes Janelle Price on the same score as Oliver. So if she jumps a clear round, she will go into the cross country on the same score as Oliver, in which case they will most likely be separated by whoever is closest to the optimum time in that final phase. So Janelle just making her final preparations. Gemma Tattersall watching on, wondering how much she's going to climb up the leaderboard.
Look, this is the phase that Cloud Dancer needs to perform in. I didn't think Classic Moe, based on form, might potentially be able to jump that clear round at Badminton. They did. They went and won their first 4-star based on the clear round. Cloud Dancer is a horse that can have a pole. They had some down at Wiesbaden, did one down at Blenheim, did 2 down at Blair. Can they get this phase? Because if they can get this phase, I think they become up there, right up there with the favourites. But the only reason I haven't got them favourite at the moment is this phase. So can they keep the poles up?
Tom, in terms of a confidence perspective, you know, Janelle, she's one of the best riders in the world. We've known that for many years, but she is on fire at the minute.
Exactly, like any sport, any top sport, everything is about confidence, whether it's your football team or riding. And I mean, to have done the last 2 4-stars bang in a row is quite phenomenal. She's riding on top form like she always does. And I don't really want to say too much about it, so I don't want to jinx her.
Well, Janelle Price, Cloud Dancer, clear at the moment. They can't afford any penalties to stay on the same score as Oliver Town at 24.7. If they had a pole, then they would go behind Oliver, but it would only drop them 1 place on the leaderboard. So far, so good, Tom.
Yeah.
And actually, that is the same pole that husband Tim had as well. 1 pole down, it isn't the end of the world, but still expensive, and the time is also looking pretty tight. Sneaks a couple of time penalties as well. So that's expensive for Janelle Price, Cloud Dancer. Still a lot to like from this horse, though, and actually still with every chance of being out there chasing a podium finish.
Most definitely. She jumped the most phenomenal round, and it was just here, just slightly jumped forward towards the vertical, and then straight back into the shape again coming out. But she did a brilliant job, and you can just see there she was a little bit wide after the treble where the time came from, but most of the time came from Janelle looking after the horse and giving it the room it needed. But for me, it jumped a really good round and one of the best I've seen.
Well, Janelle Price and Cloud Dancer. Oliver Townend stays as the clubhouse leader at the moment. Next to come forward, it is Michael Young. He's jumping out of order because I think he had a fall off an earlier horse in the cross country in the 2 start, but absolutely fine, and on 28.2. So actually he was in 9th position, but you can already see there he's climbed 3 places because other people have had problems ahead of him. So Michael Young, Corazon, could really put the pressure on, and there is no better man on board, Tom.
No, exactly. I mean, he's jumping at the top level now, jumping. Obviously, he's one of the most phenomenal jockeys of any sport. And really, if you had someone to put your money on any horse.
Curse of the commentator, Tom.
Yeah.
But an unlucky pole.
It was an unlucky. He came back in very tight when actually I don't think he'd be finding the time too tight, and he just left the inside front on the pole.
Unfortunately, another one goes. Now, this is when it starts to get really expensive. So the penalties racking up. Michael Young dropping well out of contention with Corazon. And he clears the last to complete easily inside the time. 12 jumping down to 27th. Expensive.
Really expensive. And when you saw him jump, there's such a beautiful rhythm and harmony about Michael and all of his horses. You never expected him to have any down. And sort of watching the replay now of the jumping, it was a bit like, yeah, you even saw Michael have a little kick in the middle. I mean, that's the first I've ever seen that.
Well, Michael Young, expensive round for him, but we have just 2 more combinations to go. The first of them, Chris Burton with Polystar, 23.6 in 2nd position. Chris was on the podium twice in Event Rider Masters last year, has already had a good finish at Wiesbaden with this horse. 19 series points on the card for him already. He could actually, with a podium finish here, lay down his name in the challenge for the series title in 2018. Polystar, a horse that actually show jumped internationally last year with Irish show jumper David Simpson, had a bit of time away from eventing. So his recent form in the eventing discipline is a little unknown, but he's obviously been spending a lot of time in this phase.
Yes, completely. I was actually at Bowlesworth the other weekend doing the Event Grand Prix, and Berto had this horse in it. He did actually have 1 or 2 fences down with the show jumps then.
Picked up 3 time penalties at Wiesbaden, but did jump a clear round. Jumped clear previous before that in Belton. Jumped clear before that at Blair Castle. That's going back to 2016. That was the day that I had them as favourite in that Event Rider Masters. Not that much experience on the clock, but clear rounds recently, and I'd be expecting one today. I have a tick beside them. Tom McCune doesn't.
Just throwing Tom under the bus there, Dan.
Gosh, isn't it?
You two will no longer be friends. But he is coming round to the last. The pressure will be on Thomas Carlyle if he clears it, and he does. Chris Burton, Polystar. He's laid down a clear round in the show jumping. He'll be no worse than 2nd, and just a little smile. He's done what he went in to do.
The key for me there, Nicole, is the speed. Tom's been talking about the influence of the cross country. Polystar and Chris Burton are going to be fast. They've now given themselves the platform. They've done everything they need in the first 2 phases, but now they've given themselves the platform for their strength to come out. We talk about Kilnabrid and Evo, his strength being in this phase. The real strength for Chris Burton comes in the speed cross country. This is looking set up. It could be all falling into Chris Burton's hands from here, Nicole.
Well, Chris Burton and Polystar have put the pressure on this man, Thomas Carlyle, and Upsilon. Now, this is a horse that actually has provided some of the key moments in Event Rider Masters history in this very phase, because they had that problem at Chatsworth back at the start of 2017 when they came out as leaders going into the show jumping and actually had a refusal that cost them the top spot. Having said that, they've also jumped clear in the show jumping on a number of other occasions.
There it is.
Got in very close there, Tom, and he paid the price.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the horse just lost a little bit of confidence, perhaps.
Possibly. He had him at the CCI 2-star at Houghton. It jumped the most beautiful round then. You could just see both of them were slightly backing off fence 2. And then sort of, I think, with such a good jumper like this, then that was sort of still in the back of their minds coming around to fence 3.
2 poles down takes him out of the lead, so Chris Burton will be our leader going into the cross country a little bit later on this afternoon. And I mean, you can just see the talent this horse has in this phase.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking then with talking about, because I completely agree with Berto, probably falling into his hands even before this round. I did think if you were on a horse, I know things have happened in the Masters, but you probably wouldn't want to be on too many other horses, really.
Than Upsilon?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the most talented horses that any of us have seen. But those key moments, Nicole, that you talk about, we've seen another one. Not one that we would have wanted. It's like Chatsworth, very dramatic. Tom's going to be disappointed with that. But look, he's going to have to fight back from a little bit further down the field in the same way as it did at Chatsworth. A clear round at Chatsworth brought him all the way back up. Tom, talk us through.
Yeah, they just literally had a little disagreement last stride. Then here, where he usually had been, the horse just had a miscommunication at one, which then led straight on to the next one. And then Tom got it right back into where they usually are and a settled platform.
And you actually said a little bit earlier on, sometimes it's not that fence, it's the next fence. And that was exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because the rest of the round was stunning to watch. But it shows anything can happen.
Well, it absolutely can. Anything can happen, and anything can happen this afternoon in the cross-country. Tom, you're going to have to dash. You've got to go and walk the course.
I've got to go and walk the course, yeah.
Good luck. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, the show jumping has been completed, and this is the leaderboard as things stand. Chris Burton, he'll have a couple of seconds in hand over Oliver Townend, Kilnabrad and Evo, who've been on the podium once already this year. Gemma Tattersall pulls up 7 places on the leaderboard, with Chica Bellapi well in touch for a podium finish with her. And Janelle Price, Cloud Dancer, just a little disappointment, but not actually costing them that too many places on the leaderboard. Karen Donkers, Jalapeno, 6 penalties for them, dropped them outside the top 10. As a good clear round for Marcio George, JCR winner, see them climb up the leaderboard. A little bit further on, Tom McEwen, we've just seen him here in the commentary with us throughout the second half of that show jumping. Figaro Van Het Broekhoff jumped a super clear round. And Teresa Vikland, expensive with Diabolique on 13 penalties, 38.8 for her. Izzy Taylor choosing not to present with direct Tullyoran Cruz, so 31 combinations came forward to show jump, and my word, the leaderboard shook up. Hannah, you've got our leader. He's the fastest man in the world according to Equa ratings. Can he live up to that name this afternoon? That's what we want to know.
Well, he's the fastest man in the world, but he's also just put in a very, very good round in the show jumping. Chris, you must be absolutely delighted.
I really am. I love that horse. He makes my job so easy. For me, it's a real pleasure to ride him. So I'm stoked.
Bit of an upset with Thomas Carlyle putting you into the top spot. You are known for your speed around the cross-country course. Have you walked the course?
Yeah, I'll go out and have another look now, actually. Poor Thomas, I didn't see, to be honest. I was down at the boot check. He's normally a very good jumper, that lovely grey. But the event's not over. Still the cross-country.
Polystar clearly in great form, though.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the way the horses come together. I don't like to get too excited. You're putting the pressure on me. But we'll certainly have a go.
Okay, well, we'd love to see you on the podium. You know that, Chris. Very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Well, my word, he is a cool customer under pressure. He's playing down his chances, but I've no doubt he will absolutely be heading out on course this afternoon with the wind in his sails. So Chris Burton, our leader, and Gemma Tattersall, another to keep an eye on. She's climbed a huge number of places on that leaderboard. Oliver Townend in second, Kilnabrad and Evo, he's dangerous for Chris Burton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris's strength will be speed, but I think from everyone that I've talked to walking around the course, over the last walking around, the event here, everybody's saying yes, the speed is going to be, what's required, but there's lots of places that you can have a little run out. I think there's going to be a big jumping influence as well. 50% is the jumping clear rate when we look at the last 5 seasons. Yes, we've got a much higher quality of field potentially, if I can say that, but I do think the jumping will be influential this afternoon. It's between the two for me right now. Between those two.
Between Burton and Townend.
Between Burton and Townend, and I wouldn't rule out a big run here from Laura Collett, London 52. Inexperienced at the level, keeping the pressure off her a little bit by not constantly bigging her up and putting pressure on her. But I would think, they're one just to mark your card and try get your eyes on that round. I think a very exciting horse for the future.
And I mean, in terms of the series, you've still got Laura Collett, Tim Price well in touch. Chris Burton obviously is in the lead, Oliver Townend. This is going to really mix up that series leaderboard.
Very big for the series leaderboard because we talk about momentum, Nicole. We talk about 5 counting scores from 6 this year. You've got to continue to build points. You can't be making a journey to Arville and coming home without Event Rider Master points. There's the big 2 are still there at the top of the leaderboard. Oliver Townend, he will absolutely be going for it. He's going to be going out second last, and Chris going out last. That's also going to be playing with them because they're going to know exactly what they've got to do.
We absolutely know.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. We cannot wait because my word, this afternoon, this cross-country course here in Arville, Rudiger Schwartz, the course designer, we know it's going to be challenging. The strength and depth in this field is incredible. So just how challenging that time is going to be, you're going to have to tune in to find out because, my word, we are going to be bringing you all of the action live and free. EventRiderMasters.tv, 13:05 Central European time, we go live. We hope you can join us because the final phase of leg 3 of the 2018 Event Rider Masters series is going to be epic.